There's something to say about people who have been in the industry for 25 plus and 30 years and having have staying power and the ability to grow and see the market as it's been in different times and in prosperous times and have such a diverse background. And these two people, Steve and Jennifer Hayes, have seen it all, and they have a lot of great things to say about the different types of ways you can get into the real estate industry and how they got into it in particular. So if you're going to want to be inspired on how you can be an impactful real estate professional and how you can have staying power through the good times and the bad, this is a great conversation for you to tune into with Jennifer and Steve Hayes. The next one I really want to focus on is y'all systems that you operate. You reference systems, and Steve has a lot of great systems. You've been doing this for 30 and 28 years. You have systems in place. And so I'm excited to hear one system from each of you that you operate within your business that helps y'all grow, has helped y'all get where you're at now.
Well, it took me a long time to get my systems in place because, like I said, I started out with new construction. Then Katrina hit, and it was just crazy. Yeah. And I had, right before Katrina hit, I got introduced to relocation. So I started working with relocation clients.
And Katrina gave a whole bunch of relocation.
That's how I came over to St. Tammany. Started working with different relocation clients through our franchise. And then Katrina hit. Then, of course, I was lucky enough. I will say this. We went to Florida in 2006 for a convention. And the Florida agents came flocking to me and said, do you know what's going on in the world? And I'm like, no, we're in Katrina world. Yeah. And they're like, okay, we were in the same boat. Listen to me. Go home. The America is getting into a recession. You need to go home. You need to cut your budget.
This was 2006.
2006, correction, 07. Okay. It was in 07. You need to go home. You need to cut your budget down. You need to get your books in order. Next year, you're going to get hit because you're on a 2-year wave after the hurricane, which we just ended. Yep. And this is what happened because they had the hurricane
the bubble
before.
After disaster.
So I came home, met with all my builders. Look, y'all, we got to get rid of all our inventory this year, and we got to get back to normal building.
Wow.
Or liquidate it. The ones that listened to me did very well. And by May of 2008, I had gotten those builders like inventory under control, and we did very well.
They were positioned.
The ones that didn't listen to me went into bankruptcy.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
so there's something to be said when we stay in the echo chambers of certain rooms. For example, Katrina, the echo chambers of just like, the chaos of post, disaster, but you got into a different room and they said, hey, let's pull you out of, kind of everything that's your world right now. But there was something though, is number one, they gave you that advice.
Right.
So there was, that relationship you talk about that was powerful enough to say, hey, are you paying attention? I know you have a lot going on at home, but have you been hearing this, and this? So you went off to go learn, to network, you get that advice, and then you decide to go all in on that advice and bring that back to your clients instead of just being like, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or I'm not seeing, whatever.
Or
and
getting back in just in the same routine you've been in.
Yeah.
Right.
And so kudos to you for that.
So fast forward, we're in a recession and my builders aren't building. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. My ex-husband was huge into bank foreclosures and we were slammed with business. And he's like, you got to get over here and help me. So from 2008, 2009, just like Steve, till probably 2014,
did the repos.
we didn't come up for air. I mean,
but,
it was
but y'all did them to a big
insane.
degree. You managed, so during that time, did you manage rehabs for the banks or are they just liquidating them?
Oh, no. I was acting as
a
contractor.
mix. It was a mix.
Yeah, people don't know that about repos, like that there's actually, I mean, that's who I saw personify this was with Brent and them, that they were actually doing the construction side. The banks were taking these properties and you guys were helping doing these renovations and then putting on the market. People are like, somewhere along the line, someone said banks don't want to own houses. That tells me different.
We did a lot of our big accounts with Fannie Mae was the biggest. Then we had Freddie Mac. Their philosophy is when they take a repo, they want to put it back on the market where it enhances the neighborhood and is not,
the worst house on the block.
Exactly. They want to bring it up to neighborhood standards. So we were acting as contractors, going in, getting, and we weren't getting paid any extra. I mean, we were getting a little bonus. They'd give us a little bonus. But I mean,
you're
we
getting
were,
your commission, but you're not getting a contractor project manager fee.
no. So we would go in, we would remodel, we'd do
But
the
you,
houses.
in essence, renovated hundreds.
A lot of houses, yes. But I had the good thing was, so it all comes into play. What did I start in? New construction. My builders educated me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn. I would go in and watch them while they're under contract, help with the floor plans, advise on different things, and just really learned. So then now I'm in this and I'm acting. I'm like, I know who to call and this.
Nice.
And actually some of the builders whose business was slow, we started working with them.
Using their subs and stuff.
Oh, they were actually redoing them for us. So we
That's
just
huge.
the relationships were great, and it came from some of our lenders that we had a relationship with, and they were like, "Hey, this guy will do what you need." And so again, community,
Yeah.
all about community. So after that ended and it slowed down, I had this 20-year career, and I'm having to start completely over because
Because after 14, that kind of pulled way
I,
back.
I was managing an agents of 30 agents, and if some business came in, I was giving it to them, just handing it out.
Right.
And
You
our
were like
office
Oprah,
was
you get a repo today, you get a repo today.
well, it wasn't the repos; it was regular business.
Sorry, the other part. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I can't take this regular business. So and so needs a house. Go give them a house, because that was the
You had to run what
easier
you needed,
business to do. You couldn't really train somebody how to do a repo.
Yeah.
But if one of my clients' daughter or they wanted to go buy a house, my agents could do that. So I was giving away my business left and right. So I started over. Well, luckily about that time, Steve and I are together, and he's like, you need Buffini. And I'm like,
So now we
okay.
get to the systems.
And so now we're getting to the system.
What's it
Sorry. Brian Buffini.
Brian Buffini.
So
You mentioned him before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Has other people mentioned him before? Is he a Colorado guy?
No,
No.
he is a national. He's the largest real estate coaching firm in the world.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So tell me about him.
So I start watching Brian Buffini, start from scratch like I'm a new agent. And he starts saying, you need your relationships, your sphere of influence. You need to be working this. You need to be contacting them on a regular basis, providing something of value to
So
them.
it helps you build a whole foundational.
Yes.
Right. So, also being from Fort Collins, right? That's where ninja selling is created, right? I worked with and came up in the business with all the original ninjas.
Larry Kendall?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm friends with Larry. And that's just how business is done up there. Well, ninja selling and Brian Buffini's systems just go together like this. So Reach Real Estate Solutions is a blend of ninja selling and Brian Buffini. So the systems that we're going to teach on, though, are going to be primarily the Buffini systems because they're so super simple.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, and simple's huge, right?
Yes.
If it's so, and coming from someone who loves the complicated and creative, if it's not simple, it's so hard to repeat,
Yeah.
right?
And I had
or to pass along.
And there's, I've been at that point 20 years. I had every software system there was in the business.
And we're all laughing
I'm like,
as to what softwares look like. But
and
there's
every
softwares then.
agent asks you, what software do you use? Well, what's the best software? It's the one you use. And in my case, Buffini came where you upload. It was very simple. It tells me who to call every day. It tells me who to send a thank you note to, or a note, who to
Personal
do a
note.
pop by.
Yeah.
I do real estate reviews, which is a ninja thing. So I can actually go in my Buffini system and see what kind of business I'm going to have next year, because I keep in touch with my people and I know who's, going to be moving.
Guess
when.
you know what
and
that system costs?
$35 a month.
wow.
$35. Now I pay more because they send out my mailings for me.
Oh, nice.
And
It has some extra features you're using.
yes, it has up
Let
to
me ask you this: is ninja selling? I mean, I know there's practical parts of ninja selling, but is that more of the theoretical system, and then then Buffini's
Like
more
the
of like
philosophy.
the practical? Well, there are some practical, but there's a lot of philosophy though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Buffini's more practical tool that you can use every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the philosophies between ninja selling and Buffini are almost identical, but what you're taught primarily with ninja selling is the philosophical side of it. You know?
And that sounds like
Yes.
the actual structure,
Correct.
like
And-
structural components.
And Brian Buffini, I'm a certified mentor, so I can teach his courses and stuff as well. He adds, let's just make this super simple. Here's your item of value to mail out. I'm going to even send you a pack of note cards for you to send notes to people, so you don't have to go to the store to get them.
Ninja stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you're just doing the same thing, but his it's called Referral Maker CRM. It just comes up and says, you haven't talked to this person in so long. These are the steps you need to do.
That's the system you've kept
Yes.
all the way since right after Katrina.
No.
No, since
I just started that in 18.
Okay.
So like after the repo, and
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
right.
I got to reinvent myself.
That's right. That's right. I missed
So,
my
yeah, so-
timeline.
yeah,
So,
so-
Yeah.
I taught
yes.
her that.
And so, no, but so that's huge because look, I can tell when I'm in a room of hard workers, right? But like you can get thrown into something and just go and work hard, right? That season
Yep.
of new construction, that season of, the repos, you go in there and you work hard. But the thing about systems is it helps you the longevity side and it helps you the repeatable side,
But
right?
Brian Buffini and what we teach is ultimately to create a business that the agent can potentially sell and retire with. That's what we're trying to help agents create. We see so many agents just fade off into the distance at some point, and they have this book of business that could be creating some kind of residual income for a number of years as they slowly transition into retirement. And we see them just waste that. They squander that. And what does that say about the relationships? Where did they go?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that there's such an opportunity for people who have been in the business for 30 years to establish core values, find a young agent that they relate to, has the same behavioral assessment they do, have the same values they have, wants to adopt a system to teach that agent the system, have it be, the seasoned agent's name, the other agent's name really small over the years, have them be on equal playing field on the logo, and then eventually it's the younger agent and the other agent. But that other agent is always there until they sell the sunset, and they're receiving a piece of the business they generated for their whole life. And but you have to have a system in order to do that.
Yes, and
You have got to.
it doesn't have to be like a 20-year-old when you say younger agent. It just needs to be somebody that's, they got 10, 20 years left.
That's got
They
longer.
want their
You know.
foot on they want their foot on the gas, not taking it off.
Yeah,
Their
yeah.
career has to have a longer season in which you're going to be alive.
Exactly,
so you
exactly.
can really
Because
do
I
that.
mean, I feel like I've probably got another.
You have longer than me.
Look, we just buried my great aunt, and she was 105.
Wow.
So my grandmother was
only halfway
almost
there.
100. I have decided that if I retire early, I'm in trouble financially. So I need to at least do 70, 75.
I want to say one thing, and just say in a quick answer, I want to know how y'all feel about this. And I heard this in a book, and this guy said that the first million is the hardest. And I know y'all have done this several different times over again.
Yeah.
And you stepped out, stepped back in, but once you've done it one time, the mentality, the time it takes to get there, it's got to be faster,
Oh, you're going to make me choke up.
right?
So I made, I remember that, wanting to get that first million. And I don't remember now when it was, but I was in my late 20s or early 30s when we hit our first million in value, with our because we bought investment properties and everything.
Which was critical
Yes.
to the journey.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting because people are like, oh, I want what you want. I'm like, I'll give you an example. Well, I remember my dear friend, she's one of my stagers. My grew up together. She's been an interior decorator, my friend's mom. She came over to my house when I was 32. She walked in, she said, Jennifer, are you still in college? Are you gonna fix the house up? And I went and I thought, because I'm like, I guess I do. I guess we haven't really gone and decorated. I mean, I go out and show houses and everything, but that was my mentality in my 20s and our early 30s. That's how I got to $1 million. We didn't spend money, on stuff.
You weren't short-term thinking, you were thinking
We
long-term.
were long-term thinking, and I see so many young kids and they got this and that and this and that, and
Chasing
they're
the cars, the
buying and
things, all
going
that.
out to eat. And if anybody gets offended by this, I'm sorry, but Uber Eats,
It's a plague right now. It's a plague.
Oh, I'm
when
like,
you see the difference
how
of what it
much
would
do
be
you
if you went there versus
spend?
What a waste of money.
It is. I'm like, and all the Starbucks and all this stuff. I mean, we didn't do that.
But there's a reason why that's a whole nother topic, but why home ownership feels so far off. It's
Yeah.
like, well, can you look at your habits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thinking back through that, it's the idea of delayed gratification. It
Yes.
was you were willing to say, yeah, like I lived in a 1-bedroom condo for years, and people would be like, what? Like I was like, I live below my means. Like that's just
Yes.
what worked, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that.
I want to hear Steve's take on that too, though, because I mean, again, you're starting a new company,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been successful in your career in the past. Like, what does that mean to you when you're starting a new business at 58 years old?
50, I was 57.
57
I'm
years old.
58 now.
And that mentality of, I'm going to do this again, I can do this again, and how the systems that you're going to play, how much faster you know you're going to get there, right?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I think I had access to Chat GPT when I was putting this together, it may have gone a little bit faster. But that's, I'm still kind of learning how that may have sidelined me too, because the organic process of what I put together and the deep thinking that I personally introspection had to do may not have been there. So I was fortunate. But the systems were highly important to me. I have a completely different viewpoint of real estate than many of the brokers in Louisiana because, with 20 of my first years only being in Colorado, it's a completely different deal. And also my involvement in the MLS world, as well as being, a past president of North Shore Area Board of Realtors and being involved in that. When I moved here 8 years ago, I was telling everybody here that what has just happened was going to happen and be prepared for it. This is coming, with the changes in MLS rules, changes in compensation, changes in, and now the MLSs are being sued to separate the association from the MLS as a purchasing. Colorado, they're already separate, right? You can't force a membership to get to the MLS. So the systems and everything that I was bringing, most people looked at me like I had 3 heads. So that being said, when I was preparing Reach Real Estate Solutions, I prepared all of our documentation, all of our buyer consultations, seller consultations, everything in advance of what the decision was made by the DOJ, because I was very aware of what was going to happen. So part of the systems is I provide the actual buyer consultation and seller consultation from soup to nuts for our agents. It is from start to finish. You don't need a presentation because that's a drag and brag. You're just telling people things about yourself. Here is our 8-page or 12-page seller consultation. This is your consultation from start to finish, and it's all about the customer. We're going to provide value before we even get hired.
Yeah.
Right? Means then we're going to get hired because we've already begun working before we even show up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so the systems of the buyer consultation, seller consultation, let alone the software, to manage all the documentation and stuff like that, I'm very keen on, because I want the brand of Reach Real Estate Solutions being the same.
So what I'm hearing you saying is his question of, it's like starting over again, but you have so much experience behind it. You're pulling from that and you're saying, hey, I'm looking forward with that experience in mind, right? Like with that rear view mirror in mind. I'm trying to build around that. And then what I'm hearing from you is saying, I know how to sacrifice, I know how to work hard, and I know how to get, I know how to do this. Yeah. It's basically looking at your receipts and saying, I showed up for myself before and I can do it again.
Yeah.
And that's
so I love those.
And that's what makes
concepts.
us a really good team, right? Because I'm good at corporate real estate. When at the height of the foreclosure crisis, I had one closing every 3rd day, literally. Yeah. That's how fast I was closing properties.
Well, and you guys have done a ton of volume, especially in that field.
In that field, yeah, it was just a ton of volume. So those kinds of systems are there too. So I'm
Teaches
really,
you a lot too.
I'm really good at that. So let me do that part of the company. let her do what she's really good at. But everybody loves Jennifer. I mean,
Yeah.
look at that
Seems
sweet
like you guys-
face, right? Yeah,
Seems
we're
like you guys complement each other very well.
Very
in that
well.
sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But
as
I have a feeling this million is going to probably be one of the easier ones that y'all get to. So I'm excited to see y'all do it.